What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Greats Through the Mail Thursdays. Today I'm going to share with you a crooked sign. Let me fix that. I'm going to share with you 3 envelopes that I recently got back. And this first one, I think I know who it is because it's postmarked from Alabama. And it is indeed former Milwaukee Brave Frank Bolling on 1, 2, 3, and 4 is him as a Detroit Tiger. And I have written Mr. Bolling before on this channel. I was going through my cards recently and I realized Mr. Bolling is 88 years old, and I had these 4 cards that I recently picked up, and I thought, well, I'll write him another letter. The least he can do is just return them unsigned, and he signed them for me. So they're kind of hard to see. You almost think that that's part of the card. It's almost darker on the facsimile autograph than it is the actual one. But, you know, I'll take them. It's better than not having them signed at all. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about Mr. Bolling. I'm just going to kind of go through his career rather quickly because I've already shared that information with you before, and I will link you to that episode. So Frank Bolling. He's a former second baseman who played from 1954 to 1966. He played from the Detroit Tigers from 1954 all the way to 1960. Then he played for the Milwaukee Atlanta Braves from 1961 to 66. He is the younger brother of Milt Bolling, who also was a Brave. And they only played briefly, I believe, as teammates, if I recall from my last video. He was a 4-time All-Star. He won a Gold Glove Award, lifetime .254 batting average over a 12-year career. But, you know, that's pretty good for a second baseman. Not bad. Very fine defensively throughout his career. He had a career fielding percentage of .982. So this guy was a glove man. Now, one of the biggest highlights of his career, and this is something that very few can talk about and they can claim, is most notably he hit a grand slam off of Sandy Koufax. Yes, little Frank Bolling, the meek second baseman for the Braves, hit a grand slam off of probably the greatest pitcher from the 1960s. So that's one career accomplishment that very few can probably have. Now, the other thing that's cool is he also 7 times throughout his career collected 4 hits, and 2 of them were home runs in a single game. So that's kind of unique as well. So when this guy hit home runs, he doubled them up, I guess, for the few times that he hit them, which is kind of unique for a guy that just barely hit over 100 home runs for his career. So again, thank you, Mr. Bolling. I'm very happy that you signed for me. And we'll move on to the next one. Alright, so keeping the theme with people that I've already written before, this is postmarked from Miami, Florida. And I believe it to be somebody that I've gotten before on this channel, and I know I've shared the video again. I'll post it at the end, or at the bottom, and in the description. And it is indeed former New York Yankee great Hector Lopez on 1, 2, 3 on a 61, and a 4th. All Yankees cards. And again, Mr. Lopez is 90 years old as of me shooting this video. And I just didn't want the opportunity to write him again to pass me by. So I stuck these 4 in the mail. As you guys know, I acquire vintage cards all the time. And I don't know how many times I've bought cards. I want to say this last batch I bought, and I'm like, man, if I just had that card 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, before this guy died, I could have sent that to him and got it signed because he was a good signer. And I just didn't want that to happen with Mr. Lopez. I wish him the best in health. I hope he lives to be 150 years old. But at 90 years old, you just never know. So, again, I'm not going to talk too much about Mr. Lopez. and how old he is, I'm just going to kind of fill you in on his career and kind of just talk a little bit about his career. Hector Lopez was born in Panama. He was a left fielder and third baseman. He split time, at third in the outfield when he was with the A's. He played for the Kansas City A's and the Yankees from 1955 to 1966. One thing that I did not know was that he was the first black manager at the AAA level. So he's a pioneer. I did not know that. Lopez was on World Series championship teams for the Yankees in 61 and 62. In various seasons, he finished among the top 10 American League leaders in hitters in hits, RBIs, runs scored, doubles, triples, slugging percentage, sacrifice flies, sacrifice hits, and games played, and times hit by a pitch. He was known for his hustle and his clutch hitting, but he also was kind of a liability in the field. That's off his Wikipedia page. I didn't make that up. Lopez was the second Panamanian-born Major League Baseball player and continues to be one of the country's most revered world champion athletes. His counterpart, Humberto Robinson, debuted in the Major Leagues 22 days earlier than Lopez. But Lopez appeared in 1,450 games, which is quite a lot more than Humberto Robinson, who only appeared in 102 over a 5-year period. He was the first Panamanian-born major leaguer to finish in the top 10 in any official statistic category, all those categories I listed before. He was an infielder for the A's, as we mentioned, but continued to contribute often as the third outfielder in the Maris and Mantle years through the mid-60s. Considered a utility player, he divided his career almost evenly between playing third base and the outfield. After retiring from baseball as a player, he became the groundbreaking manager in minor league baseball as the first to break the baseball color line as a black manager at the AAA level of the Buffalo Bisons. So, thank you very much, Mr. Lopez. Again, I've written you before. I appreciate you signing. I just think it's so important to remember somebody that is so important to the game like you. Being born in Panama, I could only imagine trying to play in the 1950s and 60s. It was probably a very difficult time during that era to be a Major League Baseball player. So, thank you very much, Mr. Lopez. All right, so this next one is postmarked from Dallas, Texas. And I have written this person before, and we're talking about the age of some of these older baseball players. And this individual is currently 96 years old, or young. And that is Dr. Bobby Brown on 1, 2, 3, and a 4th Yankees sticker makes 4. I've always thought about sending these stickers in the mail, and I stuck them in there. I figured if he doesn't sign them, nothing lost. But Bobby Brown, I have written before in the past. He is one of the oldest living major leaguers at the time of me shooting this video. And I'm just going to jump in and kind of tell you about his career and how important he was to baseball. All right, Robert William Brown, not to be confused with the Bobby Brown that played for the Yankees also in the 1980s. He was an outfielder. This is the third baseman. Is a former third baseman, as I mentioned, an executive who was the president of the American League from 1984 to 1994. Also, during his playing career, he was a physician who studied for his medical degree during his 8-year career. His 8-year career spanned from 1946 to 1954. His first appearance was on September 22nd of 1946. So that's crazy that a player from the 1940s is still with us today in 2020. That's great. He is a former doctor, so obviously he knew how to take care of his body. Whatever Dr. Bobby Brown's secret is, I think he should write a book and share it with us. Born in Seattle, Washington, Brown attended Galileo Academy of Science and Technology in San Francisco, then Stanford University and UCLA before receiving his medical degree from Tulane University. During his time at Stanford, he and another student were involved in rescue of the Coast Guardsman from a plane crash, which left Brown received a silver life-saving medal. He also was a veteran. He served in the military during the Korean War. Sometimes known as the Golden Boy during his baseball career, Brown played 548 regular season games for the Yankees, with a lifetime batting average of .279, 22 home runs. In addition, he appeared in 4 World Series in 1947, 49, 50, and 51. For New York, batting .439 in 17 games. That's not a bad World Series career batting average. .439. Brown batted left-handed and threw right-handed. He missed 1.5 years due to military service during the Korean War. One of the most famous stories that has made the rounds for years in baseball circles concerns the time when Brown's road roommate was star Yankee catcher Yogi Berra, who had little formal education. The two were reading in their hotel room one night, Berra a comic book and Brown his copy of Boyd's Pathology. Berra came to the end of his comic, tossed it aside, and asked Brown, "So how is yours turning out?" in a joking manner. Brown is the last living member of the Yankees team that won the 1947 World Series. After his playing career, Brown practiced cardiology in the Dallas-Fort Worth area until 1974, when he took a leave of absence to serve as an interim president of the American League Texas Rangers, then returned to medicine following the season. Darn it, if I would have read this, I would have sent him a Texas Rangers sticker. I didn't know that until I just read this little thing. And I know a favorite collector of mine, Chase, I know you collect autographs for the 91 Fleer set. You might want to think about sending a sticker of the Yankees and Rangers to Mr. Brown. That'd be a pretty cool addition. In 1984, he succeeded Lee McPhail as American League president and held that post for a decade till 1994. That position no longer exists. That was absorbed by the baseball commissioner's office. So, his legacy. A decorated veteran of 2 years, a noted baseball player who saved on 5 championship teams, an accomplished physician, and the former president of the American League, Brown is considered to have few equals in the history of Major League Baseball. You know, we talk a lot about Hall of Famers. A lot of baseball talk, especially since they have this new induction process with older players in the baseball's Hall of Fame. But as his Wikipedia page points out, this is one of those unique individuals that maybe his statistical numbers are not Hall of Fame worthy, but his contributions to the game as a whole are. Meaning he was a player, he was a team president, and he was the president of the American League for a decade. I think with those 3 contributions to the game of baseball, Cooperstown and seriously consider putting this guy in. You know, that's not because he's still alive, and it's not because he signed an autograph for me, but take a step back and look at this unique type of individual. But he found that being a doctor was more valuable to people's lives than earning wages in baseball, and that was during a time period that he probably made more being a doctor than he did playing baseball. So that's just my 2 cents. I want to thank all the players, Mr. Brown, Mr. Lopez, and Mr. Bolling, for all signing for me again. I've written Bobby Brown before in the past. I've written Mr. Bolling and Mr. Lopez as well in the past. So thanks for watching another episode. I look forward to your comments below.